People don't understand how intelligent pigs are, how emotionally connected they are, and they really treat everybody as family. They're the fourth smartest land animal in the entire world.
Hey, I'm Emma, and welcome to Human Animals, the podcast where we explore the deep, complex, and often surprising relationships between people and the animals that share our world. In each episode, I'll invite a guest to dive into the bonds that unite us with the creatures we live alongside. Whether they are big or small, pets or wildlife, we'll unpack the ways animals shape our lives and challenge our understanding of what it means to be human. Join me on this journey where every episode is a reflection of the ties that bind us all. Today I talk with Matt from Farm Animal Refuge, which is a sanctuary in Southern California that only rescues farm animals, so pigs, cows, chickens, goats, sheep. That's their focus. I've been following them for a long time and I love what they do. In this episode, we get into what it really takes to run a sanctuary, some ways that you can get involved to help support them and sanctuaries like them, whether it's farm animals or other animal-specific rescues, and also about the industry a bit and why these animals end up in the places that they do and how we can help support them. So I hope you enjoy. Fun fact, I have my own small business called Miko's Choice, which is the sponsor for this episode because it's my business, this is my podcast, and I can make the rules. In all seriousness though, Miko's Choice offers high quality CBD products for all animals, dogs, horses, pigs, cats, you name it, I have them covered. I used my background in animal science and cannabis to bring these products to life, and I'm beyond thrilled to see how they help improve animal health and wellness. They're also inspired by my personal animals and my own journey through breaking my back, recovering, and getting my dog through cancer. So there's a lot of love behind this business. Feel free to check it out at mikoschoice.com and use code HUMANANIMALS for a discount. If you have any questions, email me anytime, info@mikoschoice.com. That's MIKKOSCHOICE. Thanks. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I've actually been following you for probably a few years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and have always really liked what you do. You know, there's not a lot of, I think, farm animal rescues who work to the standard that you do.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, I knew you were one of the good ones when I saw that you have the pig lift,
Oh, yeah.
because those are
hmm
not cheap.
Definitely not cheap. We were, I think, the first ones in the US of the sanctuary world to get one and have been blasting it ever since. Unfortunately, they're hard to come by nowadays. I think that one of the best investments we've ever made.
Yes, so great, so wonderful. Not to say that if a rescue doesn't have one of those, they're not great, but they're just so handy. And I saw that, I was
Mhm.
like, yes, this is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have a 700-pound pig and you got to do anything with them, it can be incredibly long process to try to get them to stay still or, get used to the dremels and things like that. So we're so happy and it's come in so helpful with a lot of the things. We just had a pig who got a hoof infection and it was vital for the treatment for her. And she's completely healed and everything's great now. But without the lift, the treatment would have been way more stressful for her. It could have been more dangerous because of the anesthesia we could have possibly had to use multiple times. And because of the lift, we were able to bypass all of that and do all the treatment here, which we're really happy with.
That's awesome. Yeah, case in point right there.
Mhm.
So I would love to share with people why farm animals, like what got you into this?
Yeah, so in San Diego, there really wasn't agricultural animal rescue out there when we first started. We had gone to ones that were like your driving distance away and really saw the power of meeting agricultural animals in real life could have on somebody's perspective of them. Most
Mhm.
people's only interactions have either been in like a petting zoo situation, through videos on the internet, or buying that prepackaged product at the store. And a lot of people have never really had positive hands-on experience with animals that come from the food industry. So because it wasn't available in San Diego, you can get people to drive a little bit of ways if they were already kind of interested and already kind of had that mindset. But to, get your real conservative dad out to a farm animal rescue, he's not going to be driving 3 hours. So we knew we
Yeah.
wanted to do something a little bit more local and decided to do that here in San Diego.
That's so great. Yeah, you're so right. I have pet pigs that live in my house,
Hmm.
and people who experience that and meet pigs for the first time, they really like have this sort of awakening to like, oh, this is what they're like. This is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, people don't understand how intelligent pigs are, how emotionally connected they are, and they really treat everybody as family. They're the fourth smartest land animal in the entire world, and they
Mhm.
have the problem-solving skills of a 3 or 4 year old child. So people
Mhm.
don't ever really know that. They just think of them as like dirty and stinky and aggressive. And like, if you keep them in a small pen with no place to go to the bathroom besides right there, and don't ever clean up, yeah, it does stink because you're not taking care of them. But
Mhm.
generally they're the cleanest animal. They potty train themselves. They don't
Mhm.
go to the bathroom anywhere that they want to eat or sleep, which I'm sure you've experienced.
Mhm.
They're great house pets if you're able to have them
Sure.
as house pets and ready for the commitment that a
Yes.
potbelly pig is. But yeah, pigs are amazing animals. I don't have my favorites, but pigs are incredibly special to my heart.
Yeah, it's true. I find that that's so true with people who interact with them on a daily basis. There's just like this level that you just get so emotionally invested in them and connected, and it's just so special and different from, I think, a lot of different species that we are used to being around.
Hmm. Yeah, a lot of species they're just kind of indifferent to us, like they
Yeah.
appreciate us taking care of them and they're excited to see us, but pigs are like emotionally connected to the
Hmm.
people that take care of them. They treat you as their family. They bring you in. That treat you as family could be good or could be kind of frustrating sometimes. But they are definitely they are more family than pet because of their emotional intelligence and they're just an incredible species.
Absolutely. Yeah, another thing I like that you guys do is you have people come visit all the time. I
Hmm.
constantly see that you have events for the public to come, which I feel like is kind of rare for a rescue or sanctuary to do. And I think it's really great because they have these experiences.
Yeah, our biggest impact, we believe, is really getting people out to meet the animals and hopefully makes more compassionate choices in their diet when they leave.
Mm,
Because we can rescue animals here. We can, bring a certain amount on their property and have them live an amazing life. But every time somebody chooses a plant-based diet or reduces their animal intake, product intake, it saves dozens to 200 animals per year per person,
oh,
and
wow.
we'd never be able to make that impact. So a single person can make an incredible impact just by adjusting their diet. So that's really where we find our biggest impact. So we do have events all year long. Every few months we have events, and we also have private tours available all year,
Mm,
which are really fun. You just get a small group up to 8 people can come, and you kind of, if you enjoy a certain area more than others, you can stay in there longer. But we're not a petting zoo, so when you come out here, we don't know what animals are going to want to interact with you today.
hmm.
No matter when you come out, there's going to be some, and there's some go-to ones that always want attention. They just absolutely love people. But it really depends on the day, depends on the weather, depends on their mood, who you're going to be able to say hi to. We're never going to force any of them. When we
Hmm.
do have the big events where we have 200, 250 people out, there's no people zones. Every area has an area that people are not allowed to go into. The animals know if that they go over there, they're not
Hmm.
going to be messed around with. Nobody's going to be coming up to them. Nobody's going to approach them. And we also what I call animal security guards in every area. So our volunteers all come out during those events and they play animal security. They know the animals really well, know the signs if they're getting stressed or maybe they just don't want to say hi or somebody is approaching them too fast or quick movements. They're
Hmm.
there to say like, oh, okay, like let's give them some space. They know the animals who never want to say hi because we have plenty of animals here that don't want interaction with humans, and that's absolutely fine too.
Hmm.
So although we do have the events, we definitely preach like we're not a petting zoo. If you want to hug a cow, you may not be able to do that when you come out that day because Gracie the cow may not want to hug you that day, and that's
Hmm.
completely up to her. But our biggest impact is really having people come out, and we have 80 to 90 animals here right now. So no matter when you come out, somebody's going to want to say hi to you. Plenty of animals are going to want to. So those events are really fun.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's great that you think about their well-being too, because that can be stressful for them. But yeah, I can totally picture like having the different personalities, like, yes, oh my God, say hello to me. And then
Yep.
other ones are like,
Hmm.
maybe not.
Oh
Thanks.
yeah, there's a couple dozen who are just the stars of the tours and absolutely love it. They every time they see people come in, they're up to the fence and just asking for attention. So
Hmm.
those ones are kind of our go-tos, but they have off days too, and sometimes they don't want. I have off days. I don't want to be around people sometimes, so I
For
can
sure.
completely understand that for them too.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you find the impact of people meeting them? I would imagine that it sort of depends, but are people like, oh my God, I've made this connection. I'm going to make different choices with food, or takes them a little bit, or like a lot of people think that pigs, like potbelly pigs, would be great pets, and just curious, like how you see people's perspectives shift.
Yeah, it's a full spectrum. I mean, we have had people come out and then leave completely plant-based. We have people that leave with a little seed planted that hopefully grows into something later when they start
Mhm.
educating themselves and having more exposure to that information. We have people leave that don't give a crap about any of it and just wanted to like say hi to an animal and thought we were
Mhm.
kind of a petting zoo. And, although that's not our target audience, that's fine too. And hopefully we planted a small seed in them as well. So
Mhm.
we definitely have the full perspective. Social media is also a great tool for us to be able to get our name out there and get our videos out there. I'm really proud of our social media. We don't post anything aggressive or very, sensitive. We don't post
Mhm.
anything very graphic. It's
Mhm.
just really positive stuff. Of course, we talk about some of the hardships and discuss losing animals and things like that, which can be emotional,
Mhm.
but we're not showing anything that's going to be, really turn people away. We're just showing them the really positive parts of these animals and things like that. But yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, I've definitely had people come and leave 100% plant-based and others, hopefully they will in the future and some kind of in the middle right there. But our biggest goal is just to try to plant those seeds and get people as close to it as possible.
Right. Yeah, no, that's great. And so the animals that you have there, where do they come from? Are they coming from the food system? Are they coming from people who've gotten them as pets and, for whatever reason, they can't have them anymore?
Yeah, they come from all over. We have had plenty of animals released from the food system. Unfortunately, farmers are not huge on working with agricultural rescues who are actively promoting people not buying their products. So the most of the animals we've received from the food system have had reasons that they're not profitable for the farmers. So Gracie, the cow we rescued out of the dairy industry, she had an umbilical hernia. A lot of people don't even think like cows have to have a baby to make milk. They're mammals. They won't produce milk unless they are actively pregnant or have recently had a baby. So because she had an umbilical hernia, there could be complications when they inevitably have to impregnate her to start her milk production. So she was deemed not profitable for that dairy industry. We've had goats released from some farmers for failure to thrive, where they're not going to grow big enough to be profitable to be used for meat. And we've also had pigs that were released for various things, but most of them come from agricultural or due to health conditions that
Yeah.
make them kind of unprofitable for the farmers. And then we
Mhm.
do get a lot of backyard, either pets or backyard farmers releasing their animals. We never were intended to be a potbelly rescue,
Hmm.
but it is the animal we have almost the most of because of the micro mini pig myth that's out there, the overpopulation of pigs, and the misconception about how to take care of them and zoning and things like that that you need. And then a lot of goats from backyard people who had them as pets and really loved them, but they didn't offer them the proper conditions and they were being attacked by predators or they
Mhm.
were not surviving the elements and things like that. So they definitely come from different things. Our biggest thing is just any animals out of the agricultural industry. And we do have a lot of special needs animals here as well.
Oh, okay. What kind of special needs?
So some of them are in wheelchairs. Some of them are, they may be missing a leg. They may be a little
Mm.
bit smaller and not as developed. We have Freddie, who has a spinal injury
Mhm.
from the home that he was at previously. So he has no use of his back legs and is in a wheelchair full time.
Mm.
He's the biggest personality you've ever met. He has no idea he's any different than any of the other animals around him. We have Maggie, who had the undeveloped front legs when she was born. She's a sheep who's in a wheelchair. We've
Mm.
recently lost a few of them because if they don't have, proper mobility and things like that, that comes with a host of other problems and
Sure.
unfortunately a shortened lifespan. But we had
Mhm.
Charlotte, the three-legged goat. We had Gus, who was born as a triplet. So
Mm.
one leg really didn't develop. And then
Mhm.
there's animals who are just not capable of fully thriving in the larger area. So we have a small area, not a small area, but a smaller group of them in an
Mhm.
area that's closer to the house, kind of where we're all at all the
Mhm.
time. And they're called the Funky Bunch. So they all have kind of certain things that kind of disqualify them from letting them move into the big herd, where they
Mhm.
do have a little bit feistier animals who love to play a little bit harder and
Mhm.
run and headbutt and do all the things normal animals do. But fortunately, if you're in a wheelchair, only have three legs, that could be more dangerous for you. So
Yeah,
yeah, so it's
definitely.
definitely been fun. And then we get animals who, as they get older, they have certain health issues that come. So we have the Funky Bunch area that they're able to graduate into, so they are able to kind of live out a peaceful end of life instead of being with all the young ones that are all annoying and playing all the time and bothering them.
Yeah, no, that's sweet. That makes sense. What are people's reactions when they see a goat or a sheep in a wheelchair? Because that's not something that I feel like the average person, if you're not so much into rescue or sanctuary world or even like these agriculture animals, like I don't think that you would think that those animals in a wheelchair is a possibility.
Yeah, and when we started, neither did the vets, neither did the
Huh?
wheelchair companies,
Okay.
neither did a lot of people out there. But a lot of rescues have been starting to do this. Goats of Anarchy was one that has
Hmm.
been around longer than us, that has been having goats in wheelchairs for a very long time. So they're just like dogs and cats, you know. But before we found our amazing vet that we have now, we were working with agricultural vets because that was the only option out there. And we'd present these cases, and they said there wasn't any treatment, and we would be, well, if this was a dog or a cat, what would the treatment plan be? What would we do for them? And that is kind of how we developed that program back in the beginning. Now we have an amazing vet who sees all animals the same and treats them all the same, and has really done some amazing work that is really outside the norm for large animal vets. And she is, I can't speak highly enough about her. So she's really changed the game for us. But they're just animals. They want to live, they want to thrive, they want to be themselves, they want autonomy, and they want to feel safe.
Hmm.
So what we can do, we can provide the same things we would provide a three-legged dog, or we could provide a paralyzed dog.
Hmm.
They're just a little bit different. We'll work with modifications of the wheelchairs,
Hmm.
but the companies have really come around. They know our money's just as green as the next person, so they're really, really
Sure.
excited when we've been ordering all these wheelchairs and modifications that they can charge us for. But people's reactions are, just the same. They see the extra love and the extra compassion that we have for them, and hopefully it transfers into, hey, like, if we can offer this compassion to this breed of animal and this species, like, why can't we offer it to all of these other ones?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's so I also assist a farm vet part-time, and
Hmm.
it's really interesting to go to different people and interact with different people who have such varying views on the animals and like what they're willing to do and what they're not willing to do. And
Yeah,
he's really interesting because he's kind of like right in the middle. Like if somebody wants to go one route or the other, like he's down
yeah,
either way, which I do respect in a way, because I think you have to meet people where they're at.
yeah,
And if there is something that he thinks like can be done and maybe the owner is like, nah, I don't want to, he will like try and be like, well, we could do this and sort of nudge them
yeah.
this way. But yeah, there really are different opinions on there. People who have goats who are just like, yeah, they're my weed eating goats and we do
Hmm.
higher herd stuff and, just like super basic care for them. And then the people that will go all out for their goat. And it's just such a very interesting spectrum. And I wonder, like, what is it that creates that for people?
Yeah, I think it's just their perception of them, the way we've grown up, the way we've been taught that that animal is a product and not, a companion. We
Hmm.
offer companionship to like dogs, bunnies, and cats, and all of these animals we invite into our homes. But depending on what country you're in, there's a line of what is food and what is pet. That line, depending on where you were born, is very varying, but there is that cultural line that we've grown up with. So we see, and when it's a certain group of animals one way, we see a certain group of animals the other. And especially if they're providing a product or a service for somebody, there's a dollar over their head. And
Yeah.
in vet school, and especially specifically large animal vet school, you're taught not to exceed the value of the animal. So every
Hmm.
animal is worth a certain dollar amount for somebody selling, meat, dairy, their babies, their weed services. And
Hmm.
if you're spending more on vet care, it's not profitable, and that animal is no longer a commodity for you. So
Hmm.
unfortunately, they're not getting them. So I'm happy to hear that there's a vet out there as well, really helping and doing the work, because no matter what level of care the person's willing to do, all animals need some level. So I'm happy to hear that they're doing that and stuff. And I also work with our vet as well. So I have definitely seen, but luckily we're in Southern California, so we're not working with a lot of large production places and things
Hmm.
like that. So she's able to be a little bit more particular about the clients that we're going to be accepting. And it's a single vet
Okay.
practice. So there's a limited time slots and things like that. So we're
Hmm.
mainly dealing with people with potbelly pigs at their house, because even pig medicine, you treat them like a large animal, although they're not a technically large animal.
Hmm.
So it's really hard to find vets, and they're also can be very frustrating. They're 3 or 4 year old toddlers in a 200-pound body. They're not going to cooperate if they don't want to
Hmm.
cooperate. So they can be very frustrating. So a lot of vets choose not to work with them and things like that. So a lot of the clients that we work with are people who have, potbelly pigs as pets and goats as pets and things like that.
Yeah, no, you're so right. It's so hard to find a vet that will treat them. When I have two, when I got mine, that was a real concern about who to treat. And here I'm in Central California, so like Davis is
Hmm.
the go-to for a lot of
Yep.
people. But I found this guy and he is, yeah, he's really great. Like I'll never forget the first time he walked into my house. My one of my pigs had like a little mass on her shoulder that I wanted him to look at. And he walks in and he's like kind of expecting to go to the backyard. I'm like, no,
Yep.
no, like she's on the couch. And he
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, Davis is actually our go-to for hospitalization too, because
Yeah,
vets are so hard to find. It's a 9+ hour drive, can be up to 12 hours if we hit traffic in LA. But
right.
because they're a teaching hospital, they're also willing to do things a normal agricultural vet's not. So they've actually
Mhm.
done surgeries on pigs they've never done before. They've
Mhm.
helped us treat animals that things that they've never done on any other animals because generally the cost is going to be prohibit a farmer for doing it. And they're teaching hospitals, so they want to learn as well. So it's
Mhm.
been a really fun partnership. So we do, if we need hospitalization, they've been our go-to as well because that's how scarce vet care is for these breed species of animals. So
Yeah,
I've driven to Davis, 9 to 12 hours each way, probably 2 dozen times, and I'm happy to do it as many times as we need to.
sure. Well, yeah, no, it's a real thing. And I see, of course, in like a bunch of pig Facebook groups, and I always see people who are struggling to find vets. And
Yeah.
there's a part of me that doesn't really blame them because they are, like you said, it's a very physical thing to take care of them, and it's hard work. Like we've been out there, we see, but
Hmm.
they're just as deserving, as that care as any other species. Same with goats and cows and even chickens.
Yeah.
He and I
Oh,
treat
so
a lot
yeah.
of chickens.
Avian medicine is also very hard. The best vets that we have really locally to us are exotic vets.
Mm,
So the price tag there for their services are quite a bit because they're treating,
mm,
African parrots and these exotic animals. And I bring a chicken or a turkey into them, and we're happy to pay whatever we need to. But it's pretty
yeah.
funny that I'm in the waiting room with all these like really fancy exotic animals, and I have a chicken here who needs a little bit of vet service.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we always preach like potbellies can be an amazing pet, goats can be an amazing pet, but you have to be ready. You have to know what to get into. You have to be ready for fire evacuations.
Yes.
Need to know how to load your animals. You need to have proper housing. You need to have proper companionship. Like a single pig is not a happy pig. They're going to
Hmm.
make you their herd, and you're not going to like that. Trust me, it's not doesn't work out. They need another pig,
Yeah.
but they also need vet care. They can be expensive. Hard to find vet care means it's going to be more expensive. There
Hmm.
are not a ton of vet pigs or pig vets out there. They can charge a little bit more and they should charge a little bit more. They're using a lot more stuff. Their equipment's going to be more expensive, but you have to be ready for that. So taking an animal into your life, you have to be ready for that commitment. And potbelly pigs, if taken care of properly, can live 15 plus years. And
Yeah.
people don't recognize that. And we work with PBS to do a potbelly pig special, and their statistics they found is 92% of potbelly pigs bought as babies are rehomed by the time they're two.
Wow.
92%. So
Yeah.
a lot of people are getting them not ready for the commitment, not ready for the vet care, and not
Mhm.
understanding the level of care and companionship that they need. So we preach potbelly pigs can be great pets, but you have to know what you're getting into
Yeah.
before you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard for me sometimes because I share a lot about my life with them on social media, and
Hmm.
people see them like on the couch and cuddling, and they've gotten in bed with me,
Yeah,
and it's just like they see them as little dogs, and it's really, I struggle sometimes to like get that point across to people. To be like,
yeah,
oh, I want a pig. And I'm like, no, please don't, please don't
yeah.
actually, because it's just maybe not the right choice for you, but like also they're amazing. And it's a hard place for me to be, but I don't know, maybe that's why people like to come to you so much because they can get that experience, but then like they don't have to live with it.
Yeah, that's what I always tell people. If people are like, I want a pig, I want a goat, I want this, I'm like, go volunteer somewhere. You get to go, yeah, pick up poop for a little bit, which you
Mhm.
have to do if you bought an animal anyway.
Mhm.
But you get to cuddle them, you get to like love on them, and then you get to go home and sleep in a clean bed and sleep all night long and not have
Mhm.
the vet care and not have the, wildfire worries. Like it's it's the way to do it. And then after, you volunteer for quite a while, maybe then after you have that experience and you know what it's like, then you can explore, adopting an animal, hopefully not buying, hopefully
Hmm.
adopting,
Hmm.
because there's plenty of them out there that need homes.
Yes.
But I always preach to people like go to a sanctuary, go
Hmm.
volunteer. If you get an animal, there's not days off from the animal. So if you can't
Hmm.
commit to a once a month volunteer shift at an animal sanctuary, do you really want to commit to having an animal in your house every single day for 15 to 20 years?
Right.
So you really can get that experience. But yeah, volunteering is awesome. Like I love having a sanctuary, but also would love just to be a volunteer somewhere and go and like love on the animals, not have all the, stress about making all the medical decisions or
Sure.
finding all the vet care and doing all the things that come with taking care of so many animals. So volunteering is awesome. There's sanctuaries everywhere. If anybody needs a recommendation in their area, they can always hit us up on social media. Just tell us where you live, and we can definitely drop some information on places that are reputable in your area that you
Hmm.
can go and volunteer at.
Yeah, that would be great. I think people are genuinely curious to do that for
Yeah,
sure. So
absolutely.
you said something in there that I always ask people, which is how do you deal with the mental load of what you do? Just like compassion fatigue, constant requests for help, dealing with the care of these animals, the end of life care, the daily things. Like how is that for you?
It can be hard. I mean, it's definitely the hardest part of rescue. We get calls almost every single day to take animals. We get emails almost every single day. Every time I'm flipping through social media, it's post after post about animals that need help.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, we can't save more than we're able to take care of properly here. We have to, not only be able to house them and feed them, but we need to show them, compassion, spend time with them if they'd like to. We
Hmm.
also, like I mentioned earlier, have to be able to evacuate them if there's a wildfire, which
Yeah,
in Southern California, it's not if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. So we
100%.
have to have a contingency plan for all of that. We have to have, current vet care. We have to have future vet care. We have to have all of these things in place for a no day to become what we call a yes day, where we're able to take animals. So it can
Mm,
be incredibly hard. One of the hardest things is saying no to animals. But if we, our vet referred to sanctuaries as a lifeboat. If you put too many in a lifeboat, everybody's going down. You have to find
mhm,
that balance. And of course, the more support we have, the more we can do per animal. But we have to say no to 90, probably 98, 99% of the calls we get just because we can't physically take all those animals. And then,
mhm,
like you said, there's the end of life care. There's the compassion fatigue that comes along with it. We're lucky here to have, a few people that help take care of Farm Animal Refuge. Me and the co-founder Jordan started this. Our
mm,
family has come up here and they've been a big part of helping out as well. So you've definitely been able to rely on each other. But if you're going to start a sanctuary, you gotta be strong enough to deal with it. You cannot start a sanctuary and then completely crumble and close it, and there's going to be no place for the animals. There's going to be no
mhm,
place contingency plan after that. Like you just have to be the right kind of person to do it. So if you are interested in starting a sanctuary, don't do a once a month volunteer shift. Do a once a week, twice a week volunteer shift, because starting a sanctuary, it's snowing, it's raining, it's your birthday.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what kind of mood you're in, how sick you are, if you're hungover, if you're puking, if you have the flu. These
Mhm.
animals have to be taken care of, and you have to be ready for it, and you have to go into it with a positive attitude, or it's going to eat you alive and you're not going to sustain it. So I always tell people, like, if you want to start a sanctuary, volunteer at a sanctuary, and go when you don't want to. Go when it's
Mhm.
not convenient. Go when the weather's terrible. If you find yourself not going at those times, like maybe you shouldn't start a sanctuary and just volunteer. That's great too. All sanctuaries need volunteers, and the
Mhm.
more volunteers we have, the more we can do in the grand scheme of things as well. So you don't not everybody has to start a sanctuary to
True.
make an impact. You can just volunteer, but it's a heavy lifestyle. There's rarely vacations, if any at all. There's always going to be, no matter what, if you have a day off where others are taken care of, there's going to be emergencies where that plan's going out the window.
Mhm.
There's been times I've been eating dinner and all of a sudden I'm driving to Davis 11 hours. In that immediate second, within 10 minutes, I'm going from going to bed in 45 minutes to driving overnight 9 hours. And you
Yeah.
just have to be the kind of person who you don't have to enjoy it per se, but you have to
Mhm.
know that it's part of the lifestyle and accept it and be positive about it.
Yeah, definitely. It is a lifestyle, and
Yep.
the frame of mind I think is really important too.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to really go into knowing, and if you don't think you can do it for a really long time or make it into, get it to a place where you're able to pass it on and have people kind of start taking over the day to day, then you're going to be miserable. You're not going to like it. It's not something that's temporary. These animals live a really long time. And unfortunately, because the slaughter age of animals in the agriculture industry is so young, you're really rescuing young animals most of the time. Like it's
Yeah.
very rare for us to adopt like a senior animal because pigs are slaughtered at 6 months old, cows at a year and a half, chickens
Hmm.
at 6 weeks, so they
Hmm.
don't have a long time to live for
Hmm.
them to get to rescue before that slaughter age. So you're
Hmm.
rescuing animals that you're committing to 20 years with, and
Right.
that's really important to know that if you start a sanctuary, you're going to have to see it through, or you need to be there. And all the other sanctuaries were so bombarded with animals and intakes that we can't bail anybody out when they decide that they can't do it anymore. So
Hmm.
unless you're the kind of person that's going to be able to do that, just volunteer. We need so many volunteers. There's so many good opportunities out there. Like do it. And, like do that. And it's just as awesome.
Yeah, 100%. I also would be curious what you think about people who foster on like a small scale. Maybe it's not necessarily pigs, but maybe it's like dogs or cats, or I don't know, maybe you foster a pig. I guess I haven't really heard of people fostering a pig per se,
Hmm.
but I don't know, maybe you could. I feel like that's also a nice like small way to do an impact, and if you are backed up by a rescue, that could be helpful too.
Yeah, I think it works if you have a plan for the animal before you take it. Taking an animal and expecting a sanctuary to then take them from you is just
Hmm.
putting more on our plate and giving us more calls about animals that
Definitely.
we have to say no to and we're going to think about all day and how sad that is and feel
Hmm.
terrible. Like if you rescue an animal out of the agriculture industry without a place to go after you're done fostering, you didn't rescue that animal. You just took it and now you're going to put it on somebody else. I know it sounds really harsh and everybody has the best intentions when they do that. But if you rescue a baby cow or a baby pig, unless you have a place that they're going to be going before you rescue them, you're putting the burden on a sanctuary
Hmm.
to take them from you because now you have an animal that you feel good about rescuing, but what are you going to do with them? Like who's
For
going to
sure.
take them? You now have taken them for 6, 8 weeks and there's 18 and a half more years of that animal's life that they're going to need to. So
Hmm.
dogs and cats are different. There's so many more homes for dogs and cats, and
True.
I 100% appreciate anybody, and they're all good intentions. I don't want to make it sound like I'm bashing people that do that because it's all good intentions, but the reality is like these animals have to go somewhere eventually. And
Hmm.
what I find is a lot of people get baby animals and keep them through the baby phase
Mm.
and then decide that it's going to be too much or now it's time. And they think that's helping because they think, it's better for them to raise a baby and then give, an older
Hmm.
animal to a sanctuary when
Hmm.
really it's going to be harder to find them homes. It's going to be harder to introduce them. If you're not experienced, there could be health complications that are now coming up because of maybe the diet wasn't correct or, because a lot of the information out there is not good information. So unless you have that experience about baby goats or baby pigs, there could be potential health risks. And there, we have to test everybody for diseases and things like that before we can introduce them to everybody. So I definitely recommend, like, if you want to rescue an animal out of the industry, make sure you have a home for it before you ever even consider. Like, get with Sanctuary, build a relationship with them. And if
Hmm.
they'd like you to do that, then definitely do that. But if you taking animal and then expecting a sanctuary to take them from you after you're done is really putting the burden on them. But dogs and cats, I think they're going to be different. I think fosters are able to keep dogs and cats a lot longer if homes are
Hmm.
not found. I think
Hmm.
the homes out there's a lot of homes, and I'm not in the dog and cat rescue world, so it
Hmm.
might be the same. Like, definitely don't listen to my opinion about dogs and cats because I'm not in that world. Like, talk to a dog and cat rescue, and maybe they'll have a different perspective on it.
Hmm.
Because my perspective definitely comes from agricultural animals.
Yeah. Have you ever done, like, did you just jump straight into these animals, or have you ever done other rescue with other species, like dogs and cats, or?
as a kid, I was always wanting to rescue all the animals,
Yeah.
despite how my parents felt about it. My ultimate goal in life was actually to have a pit bull rescue. That was what I wanted to
Oh,
do. Since I was a teenager, I really wanted to have a animal rescue. Then I adopted a pit bull when I was 18 and really saw, actually a very similar kind of perspective, a really misconceived animal that people kind of have a certain amount of feelings for
yeah.
and have a certain perception about. And I really wanted to start a rescue to show people how amazing that they can actually be.
Hmm.
So that's kind of what I wanted to do. I did not have any experience with agricultural animals. We just started, really slow, taking animals in, learning everything I could, watching some really terrible graphic videos on YouTube because that was the only information, unfortunately, that I was
Hmm.
able to. Relied on other rescues, did as much research as possible. We really started slowly. Like we started taking, we rescued a few roosters and we rescued a few potbelly pigs, a few larger breed pigs, and really starting to learn as much as possible. Nowadays, I think there's so many rescue and sanctuaries out there that you can go get experience at. That was just not the case when we started. Unfortunately, the option was not there. We
Hmm.
were one of the first ones in San Diego. There's a few of us that started kind of at the same time,
Hmm.
but where there was not a place that we could go and get
Hmm.
that experience, that would have been incredibly helpful. So
Yeah.
we had to start kind of in a different footing. But now, because of the resources out there, people don't really have to do that. There's a lot of options. Like there's very few places in this entire country that I couldn't find a sanctuary within an hour driving distance of somebody.
Well, well, that's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's really good. But I also think that sort of contributes to people thinking that it's just so easy to like hand them off
Yeah.
when,
Hmm.
it's really not. And I think part of responsible rescue is what you spoke to earlier about knowing your limits and knowing what you can and you can't take on for the animals that are currently in your care and that might be in your care in the future.
Yeah, people don't understand how many calls we get, how many animals we have to say no to. All
Yeah.
they see, especially, we do have a positive social media, so we don't post a lot of that stuff. So again, I don't blame them for not knowing,
Hmm.
but there is so many calls and so many animals that need help, that it can be really burdensome on the sanctuaries when people
Yeah.
do that.
Because it's like, it's not that you don't want to help. So I
Yeah.
imagine with each one of those, you're just like, oh God, like I wish.
Yeah, I didn't start a rescue to say no to animals.
Right.
I didn't start doing this so I could like say no to an animal that might not live past, you know, that a few weeks later if they're not able to find another place for them. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, that's a pill I have to swallow as a sanctuary
Yeah.
person. To every animal I say no to may ultimately end in a tragic ending for them. But
Hmm.
again, if we say yes to all the animals, we're not able to continue what we do. We're not able to do the level of care that we do. And then nobody wants to come to a place that like has too many animals and like it's not cleaned up and it's not well taken care of and the animals
Sure.
are not socialized or friendly. Like nobody
Hmm.
wants to go to a place. So like again, like our biggest impact I think is getting people out here to meet them. So we have
Hmm.
to have that delicate balance of how many animals we have, depending on like the size of the property and the amount of care we're able to offer them.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much to consider.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And
much.
long-term care as well. I think a lot of people, especially the rescue world is really agricultural sanctuary world is like 8 to 10 years old. I mean, there's a couple OGs out there that have been around for like 20 years.
Hmm.
But like all of the sanctuaries that you're following on social media, like in general, not you, but
Yeah,
everybody,
sure.
we're only like 8 years old. Like some of us
Hmm.
less than that. All the animals that you're seeing are young. They're all going to need medicine. They're all going to need hoof care. You may be able to get away for 3 or 4 years and not trimming your pig's hooves. But if you adopt 100 pigs all at once, they're all going to need something in
Hmm.
a certain amount of time. So although a lot of rescues kind of put it out there and make it perceive that they're able to handle things, like there is a lot of long-term care that we're not seeing yet because sanctuary world is so new and it just has not been around that much. Like the amount of gabapentin that we go through for the arthritic animals here is absolutely insane. And we don't even have that many on it, except for, the cows get
Yeah.
quite a bit with the older cows that need it. But, when in 10 years, when most of the animals that we originally took are now seniors and have arthritis because their
Hmm.
bodies are not designed to stay alive longer than slaughter age, the ailments that are coming up are inevitable, and a lot of that
Hmm.
is mobility and arthritis. So that is gonna, we have to be ready for that. The cost of the medication, if a sanctuary cannot afford to do it because they took too many animals, it's not fair to the animals because you made
Hmm.
that decision. So you really have to be ready for that. So it's going to be really interesting to see in the next 10 years how sanctuaries are. And I think some are really going to stand out to their level of care and things like that for the animals. And some that may not be as good but can perceive it on social media are going to start really, you're going to start really seeing the impact that they're having.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, just as you said, a lot of these animals just don't live this long, and so our vets are like, well, okay,
Yeah.
we gotta
Hmm.
roll with this and see what we do. I mean, yeah, like you said, potbellies can live a long time, and even these farmed market pigs that are the big ones,
Yeah.
sanctuary, they're living for 10 years or so, if not more,
Yeah.
and they are not designed for that.
No, not at all. And that's inevitable that there's going to be arthritis. They're inevitable that there's going to have like
Hmm.
health complications that come with that because they're just not specifically pigs. Their body design is so unnatural. When you look at these tiny, tiny little legs on this
Yeah.
huge body, it's just not something because humans have invented these animals,
Hmm.
animals that are in the agriculture industry. None of them were walking around and we decided we were going to start farming them. We've selectively bred them to produce a product. So none of them are natural anymore. So
Mm,
keeping them alive, the physical things are inevitable and something you just have to be ready for if you have a sanctuary.
right.
Or
Yeah.
or potbelly pigs as pets, you just have to be ready for it.
That's true. That's something that I think people don't really think about at all. Like how
Yeah.
they've evolved over time and then what does that mean in the end?
Yeah, absolutely. I was reading a statistic that the biggest cause of a number of species extinct is chicken farming because we've invented so many species and then created a new species that produces a better product than the one before and completely wiped out the first one because it's all, artificial insemination or specific breeding and things like that in the
Mhm.
industry. So the most animals in a species, whoever has gone extinct, is due to chicken farming because they keep inventing
Huh.
species and then deciding on a new one or inventing a new one and then wiping the old one out, which I think is pretty telling.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. Hmm.
That's crazy. Yeah. Oh gosh, the lives that chickens live. It's very sad.
It's definitely pretty horrific. I definitely recommend people, our biggest thing is we just want people to educate themselves, be exposed to information, and then make choices after that. We're not here to shame anybody. We're not here to tell people that what you need to do or what you should do.
Hmm.
Our biggest thing is where there's really this disconnect between what you buy at the store and the animal that lived before you bought that product and the life
Yeah.
that they went through and the conditions that they were forced to live in.
Hmm.
And we just want people to know that. And we think it would be very natural for people to make more compassionate decisions
Hmm.
about their diet. So that's really what we want people to do is we just want you to educate. And at the end of that, you decide, yeah, I still feel good about participating in this industry, then
Hmm.
go ahead and keep doing it. There's going to be plenty of others that are going to watch that or see that and really decide like maybe I can make some better compassionate choices in the future.
Hmm.
So it's really just educating. There's laws that are preventing this information to come out. You're not allowed to film in certain industries. You're not allowed to put that information out there. And
Yeah.
that's really telling about, why are you
Right.
not allowed to show your standard practices of an industry? If that's any other industry, if that's a pharmaceutical industry, if that's, the education industry where you're like, no, 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 you can't know what we're doing behind the scenes, that would be outrage. People would be
Hmm.
completely up in arms about that. But there's
Hmm.
a specific industry that you're not allowed to share their standard industry practices, and it's completely accepted because people ultimately really do know in their minds that they don't want to see that kind of thing. But
Hmm.
it's not fair to the animals. It's not fair to the planet. It's not fair to the future. A huge part of climate change is the animal agricultural industry
Yeah.
and the farming practices that we're currently doing. And it's just not sustainable. It's not only bad for the animals, it's bad for our health. Our diets are just absolutely different than what they're supposed to be.
Hmm.
And the planet, the emissions that we're doing and everything like that, and the monocropping for the soy to feed all the livestock and things like
Yep.
that. is just completely destroying our planet. So even if you don't care about the animals, maybe you care a little bit about your health, maybe you care about the planet. I think there's three prongs to go more compassionate your diet: the planet, the animals, or your own personal health. So it really doesn't matter which of those. It's also going to benefit all of those no matter which one you get there with. But there's a lot of reasons to really educate yourself and decide if you wanted to make these choices in the future.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I do think, yeah, I've always had that thought of like, why can't we film these things? Like
Yeah.
this is a big red flag, everybody. This is very concerning.
Yeah.
And I do think that if people could see those images, although they're, very upsetting, maybe they would make different choices. And I think also like meeting them. The other day I was watching the show Somebody Feed Phil. I don't know if
Hmm.
you watched that show.
Hmm.
It's a really cute, heartwarming show about this guy Phil who travels the world experiencing food cultures. And I mean, yeah, he eats meat, right? Like that's a big part of it. But he goes to this one farm where the chickens they're out, it's a good life for them, but he's supposed to like catch one and then like that's the one that they're gonna have later that night. And this guy is like a big eater, right? He eats meat, he eats like funky things. And because he caught this one, was like, I can't do it.
Yeah,
I can't do
absolutely.
it. And
Yeah.
he said he was like, I had this moment where I couldn't do it. I was looking at this chicken and it was like sort of, I was like hugging it and just couldn't do it. He was like, but then like, later I had a different one that I didn't know. And just like, oh, Phil, like
Yeah. But hopefully it
that's
planted a little seed, and
yeah.
maybe he'll think about that, or some of the viewers probably thought about that when they saw it as well. And it's
Hmm.
not going to be for everybody. The whole world's not going to go plant-based overnight.
Yeah.
But I think it could be a really positive shift if some people do, or if a lot of people really start incorporating more plant-based options into their diet and reducing their
Hmm.
animal products. But yeah, if slaughterhouses had glass walls, we'd all be vegan 100%. But it's
Yeah.
that premeditated ignorance that we have, that we
Hmm.
know that we don't want to see it, and we know why we don't want to see it. And
Right.
the laws are there to make us, we don't have to educate ourselves. We don't have to see it if we don't want to.
Hmm.
But it's also one of the only industries that regulates themselves. Their laws are, if it's a standard industry practice, it's accepted. So as long as most people in the industry are doing a practice, it's fine.
Hmm.
And that is, no other industry has those. They're all regulated. There's a certain level of care. You have to give into everything. It's the only industry out there that, as long as most people are doing that practice, then
Hmm.
it's completely allowed. And that
Hmm.
is cause the animals so much more suffering,
Yeah.
because to get a product on a plate, you're trying to produce as much as fast as possible, no
Hmm.
matter what the conditions are. And as
Hmm.
long as your neighbors and their neighbor and their neighbor are doing it, it's completely legal, and it's considered standard industry practice, which is another terrible thing. And California specifically, we've really voted as a people to put these better improvements for animals and their welfare, gestation crates and
Yeah.
things like that. And unfortunately, there are people actively trying to dismantle that right now, and framing it as food for poor families. It's really just a disguise for the farmers to be able to go back to those really horrific practices that are
Mm-hmm.
cheaper for them to produce the product. But in California specifically, we voted as a state to get rid of those,
Yeah, I
and that
voted
should
for
not
that.
be messed with. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think everybody knows that we should be improving the lives of the animals in the
Hmm.
industry. A lot of people don't know how horrific, like, the extent of their suffering is.
Hmm.
But no matter who you talk to, if you say, do you want them to have a better life? Like, if you're a person who cares even the slightest, you're going to say yes.
Yeah.
It's just, it can cost a little bit more. It can take a little bit
Hmm.
longer to produce that product and things like that. So, unfortunately, if you're somebody in any business, you're trying to make as much money as possible in the quickest amount of time.
Right.
So there's people actively trying to, and we won't buy animal products from places that have those, which is a big thing, and a
Hmm.
big thing of why they're trying to. Like, not only is it illegal in California, we can't buy from places that have those practices.
Right. Yeah. Which is, I mean, your money is what supports all this.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Vote with your dollar.
Yeah, and where
Hmm.
it all goes. So what's your thought about a small farmer or rancher who's letting their pigs and their cattle and their chickens like out on pasture? They're living out in the sun. Someone who's like quote unquote doing it right, but they're raising their animals for meat. Like, what's your view on that lifestyle?
I don't personally support it, but my biggest thing and why I started a sanctuary was because of factory farming and high intensive farming. So if everybody had small backyard farms that they, like they did 100 plus years ago, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I'd eat animals, but I probably wouldn't have a sanctuary. I think like
Sure.
it was definitely different if you're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't support it. I think now, especially in 2025, especially in America, we're able to live a life without animal products that is, cost effective. It's just as healthy. It
Mm-hmm.
can be just as accessible as animal products. So
Mm-hmm.
although I don't agree with it, my goal and our goal here is to really educate people about large factory farms where 99 point something percent of animal products are coming from
Oh,
and
definitely.
what are being sold. So,
Yeah.
I'm not here to bash anybody about their lifestyle. So if you are a farmer or a hunter, although I don't agree with what you're choosing to participate in, that, I'm really educating people about the large farms. Although, even with backyard farmers, slaughterages are still the same. There's the
Mm-hmm.
breeding practices are still the same. They're
Mm-hmm.
buying their animals from somewhere. Those are coming from the same places. They're
Mm-hmm.
sending them to the slaughterhouses. Most of them aren't slaughtering themselves. They're sending them to the same slaughterhouses in the same condition. So although their very short life that they're allowed to live may
Mm-hmm.
be a little bit better, their beginning and their end are still the exact same. And we can avoid all of that. We have huge grocery stores. We have incredible plant-based products. Everyone likes to kind of say that a plant-based diet is more expensive, and when it really is not.
I
Like
don't think
beans
so.
and rice and potatoes
Yeah.
are some of the cheapest options that you have out there.
Mm-hmm.
And all the science is there to say that you can get absolutely everything you need from a plant-based diet that you do with an animal-based diet. And we're already producing enough food to feed the entire world. We're just taking that food and now feeding it to livestock and
Mm-hmm.
then slaughtering them. I just say that they're like really bad filters for us of
Mm-hmm.
protein and all these things that we need when we can just go to the source instead. But we're already growing enough food to feed the world. We're giving it to these animals who are producing a sixth of the calories, a sixth of the protein, of like a sixth of everything that we're giving them, producing a sixth less of it, and then eating those animals instead, while there's 25,000 people starving to death in the world every single day. A lot of people like to blame monocropping on vegans, saying like, oh, the soy farms that are out there, like they're monocropping, it's destroying our environment. Like, where do you think 75% of soy is fed
Yeah,
to?
no, it's
Like, they're
totally.
not,
Yeah.
they our plant-based diet is more diverse. You're eating
Mm-hmm.
different things, you're introducing things that you never have. You ask somebody who does eat animals how often they eat lentils, they've probably maybe had it once. You
Yeah.
ask, a plant-based person, like, how many times have you eaten lentils or garbanzo beans or, all these vegetables, all these grains, quinoas, and all of these
Mm-hmm.
other things. Like, there's so much more diversity in a plant-based diet because
Yeah.
we're not relying on six key ingredients to make all of the things that we eat. So people do really love to blame a lot on plant-based diets and things like that when
Yeah.
really it's the animal production that's causing all of it.
No, no, you're so right. I'm just kind of laughing to myself because my fiance, he eats meat, which is like that's your choice, but there's no pork products in this household.
Good. Good.
No, no. And I don't. And so and he also like loves to cook and things. And so when we got together, he was like, "Okay, so I've never made like this or that
Yeah.
or but it's kind of like sparked this creativity in him
Yeah.
of like, oh, like what can I do with tofu or with
Yeah.
these beans or lentils and
hmm
stuff? And yeah, it's been kind of eye-opening.
Yeah, it definitely encourages people to eat more, to cook a little bit differently than they did. We all grew up eating a certain kind of food.
Yeah,
Probably, if you were like my family, you ate the same like four or five things like every week. It was
sure.
like hamburgers or ground beef tacos or
Hmm.
meatloaf or
Hmm.
chicken. So you just, unless you like actively change the way you're eating, you're just going to be doing that for the rest of your life. And
Definitely.
yeah, you think that like a plant-based diet can be really restrictive or hard. You're just teaching yourself something else. You're breaking a habit that you've instilled in yourself and culturally have instilled in you since birth, since you've been eating three times a day. So although it can be daunting at first, it can definitely be, really broaden your culinary adventures that you can have with food,
Hmm.
and really, you're going to be trying things that you've never would have considered trying before. And the options out there, although you do have those options, as an animal product eater, the options for plant-based, it forces you to kind of discover a whole new world of cuisine.
Yeah, it really does. And I think it's becoming more mainstream. Like I've just noticed
Mhm.
like going out to restaurants and stuff, there's a lot more options. Like before I would go somewhere and be like, well,
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. It definitely is something that more people are offering. It's also incredibly allergen friendly. So
uh,
people who are allergic to a lot of things are able to eat more of a plant-based diet. Not a lot of people realize that unless you came from like Eastern European descent, you're pretty much allergic to lactose and you're not going to be able to consume dairy.
mm,
Like 97% of people from Asian descent and 80 plus per people that come from an African descent are lactose intolerant.
hmm,
But our food system has convinced them that they need 4 glasses of milk a day to
right.
be able to
So
live
weird.
a happy life. And we have digestive issues and inflammation and all of these things. So it's definitely become way more popular, partly because it's just more of an accepted practice. Vegans are not seen as that crazy fringe group anymore. The
Hmm.
comedians still use this as an easy punching bag.
Sure.
But it's definitely been something that has definitely been more mainstream. People, they do vegan nights, no matter what your diet is. Do you
Mm,
want Italian? Do you want Chinese? Do you want to go to vegan tonight? It's really
mm,
been something that's been incorporated way more into people's diets. And the options out there, yeah, they're way, way better than they were when I first went plant-based many moons ago. That
hmm.
now it's, especially in San Diego, I can
Oh,
hit
for
up a
sure.
lot of places.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I went on this rescue mission to Missouri with a friend a few years ago, and all of us, don't eat meat,
Yeah.
and we just like the farther we went across the country, the harder it was. And when we were in Missouri, we were like, okay, so I
Yeah.
guess we're just like eating
There's
beans.
always Taco Bell. That's
Yeah,
like
no,
my go.
100%.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
always my go-to. There's plenty of plant-based options at Taco Bell,
Mhm.
consistent, reliable everywhere. I did a lot of cross-country driving. We rescued a really large group of potbelly pigs and placed them all over the country
Oh, well.
in 2021. So I did a lot of driving, saw the entire country.
Mm.
And yeah, it was definitely a lot harder. Lots of peanut butter and jellies in the car,
Yeah.
lots at Taco Bell. At that
Mhm.
time, Carl's Jr. had the Beyond Burger. So
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
really
We did
really
those
every
too.
yeah, but there's a lot of, places that are really adopting the cuisines and stuff like that and really putting those plant-based options on their menu. So definitely
Mhm.
a lot better, but still, depending on where you're at in the country, can be a little bit more scarce, but
Yes. But
still
still
there.
there.
Still there.
Yeah.
Happy Cow app is an amazing app, no matter where you're
Oh.
at in the entire world. It shows you all the options around you. So
Hmm.
not only does it show you specific plant-based restaurants, it shows you restaurants with options that people have uploaded onto it. It shows you stores and stuff like that as well. So definitely a good app if you're interested in seeing what's in your area or depending if you're going to be traveling. And it's all over the world too, which is really cool.
Oh, well, that's cool. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, definitely check it out.
Happy cow.
Yep.
That's cute. That's a sweet name.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love a happy cow. That's another species that I feel like people when they interact with, they're like, "Oh my God, like they're so sweet. They're so
Hmm.
funny. They're so
Yeah.
expressive,
Hmm.
And similar to the pigs, I think, because those are two species that you're just not really gonna come across all that much, in your daily life.
Yeah, absolutely. The interactions you had, they've been scared because their babies are constantly taken away, or
Hmm.
they're being mistreated. So they're, very timid of people. So you can have a certain perception about them. But if you treat them just like a dog or a cat, they're going to act just like a dog or a cat. And we call cows grass puppies because they
Yeah.
really are 2,500-pound puppies
Hmm.
that, watch your feet because they're pouncing around and they're very happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you treat an animal with love and compassion and autonomy, they're going to act like just all the other animals that you treat the same way. And do you just say, our experience with these animals is just so limited and in a very specific scenario,
Hmm.
which is usually one that they're scared and uncomfortable and not able to be themselves in. So they're
Right.
definitely different than most people have interacted with. And Gracie, we have 6 cows here, 5 of them don't really do tours. They're like, no thanks, we're going to live our
Mhm.
lives totally fine. Gracie, the Holstein cow, who works at the dairy industry, she's actually obsessed with people, and she definitely has the longest line at all of our events. Like, definitely has people waiting to give her a hug and
Mm.
really scratch her neck. She sticks her neck out when you scratch her on the bottom and stuff. And yeah, people definitely with cows. I mean, it's so powerful to have such a large animal be so kind and so compassionate to you, that
Mhm.
it's really powerful for people to meet them.
Yeah. And also, I think people just don't realize how big cows can get
Yeah,
when you
absolutely.
let
Yeah,
them, you know?
all the time. That's what especially the big pigs, like people don't realize that they can get so big
Yes.
because they've only seen ones in the industry who are only allowed to live to a certain age. But yeah,
Hmm.
cows can be huge. If you've ever met a boy Holstein, which are so rare because they're, usually born in the dairy industry, the boys are never going to make milk, not allowed to grow up. But I'm 6'5" and they're taller than me. They are astronomical. They're so friendly and they're so gentle. If you ever have a chance to meet any cows, go for it. But if you have a boy Holstein, it's incredible. The 3,000 plus pounds of a
Yeah.
pure puppy.
Yeah. It is truly amazing to stand with one who is
Yeah.
like that, you know?
Hmm.
'Cause you just don't see them that often and you just really don't realize how
Yeah.
big they are. I mean, you can even beef cow who's like out in the field and you're driving by, like you don't really know their presence until you're like right next to them.
Yeah. And they're usually, kind of out, so you're
Right.
not standing right next to them and seeing
Hmm.
how big that they actually are.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you're right, they're just so sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. The largest cow here, he's 2,700 pounds
Mm.
of pure love, Alfie.
Alfie,
Hmm.
cute. Cute. Well, we're right on that hour time frame. I love what you do and how you
Thank
share it with
you.
people. I just think it's great. A lot of sanctuaries and rescues are closed off to having people come. And while I do understand that, I just think it's great to share it with people and share it online and just like kind of break down these walls and really just talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. We think it's powerful. There's different sanctuaries have their different protocols, and all of them are needed. But our
Mhm.
biggest impact is for people to come out and meet them. You can book a private tour on our website. They're available pretty much every day of the week, two
Mm.
hours up to 8 people, and it's a private tour. And then our events all the time through our website. It's a really good resource to see if you're in San Diego, near San Diego, or coming to San Diego. Check it out.
Yeah, what a fun thing to do. I'll definitely put
Yeah,
your website in the notes of the show so
awesome.
people can see it and your social media, and I hope they come visit.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate having me. This was so much fun, and the CBD that you provide also provides so much relief for our animals. There's so many of them who do the CBD and do that daily, and in our normal regimen for them to have
Oh,
that as well.
thank you. Yeah, I was curious, like who's using that
Hmm.
and how that's going.
Everybody. Yeah, it's all anybody on pain meds gets CBD.
Yeah.
We think it could be really powerful. It's hard to quantify the effect of something like that,
Hmm.
but we know that it's not hurting at all. So
Sure.
it's anything that we can throw at them that would help them be a little bit more comfortable. There's a lot of research out there on the CBD is 100% effective, but
Mhm.
it's in our protocol that everybody gets it that is on pain meds.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm just so glad it's helping them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Human Animals. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend. I'll be back next time to dive deeper into the fascinating world of human animal connections. Until then, take a moment to appreciate the animals in your life and tell them I said hi. You can get to know me and my animals better and see upcoming guests by following at Brian Kangle, that's BrianKangal, on Instagram and TikTok. Okay, bye!